You're welcome to this channel, the Messiah Revelation Ministry. We are end time channel. Today we are going to focus our discussion on the two witnesses of the book of Revelation. We call them chapter 11 witnesses. And let's look at the scriptural basis of the two witnesses by looking at the book of Revelation, chapter 11, reading from verse 3. Revelation chapter 11, verse 3. And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. So that is the two witnesses of the book of Revelation. And there has always been questions raised about the two witnesses, who are they, and there are suggestions regarding who the two witnesses could be. Some people talk about Enoch and Elijah, and the argument is that Enoch and Elijah are the only people we can think of, because both of them were translated and they never saw death. And some people say that they will have to come to the earth and die to fulfill the prophecy in the Bible, Hebrew 9:27. It is appointed unto man to die once, and after that, judgment. So Enoch and Elijah. Some people also talk about James, the bishop of Jerusalem, and apostle John, who were martyred. They were killed by Titus, and because of their martyrdom, people think that these two people would be the two witnesses in the same similar way, using the same similar prophetic argument. Some people also list Peter and Paul, these witnesses who were killed by Nero, and so these people also qualify to be the end time witness who will come and prophesy to the world. Other people also say that the two witnesses may be two Christian prophets modeled on the pattern of Joshua and Zerubbabel, and so that is their opinion. I believe that nobody knows the identities of the two witnesses. Is one of the mysteries of heaven, and we can say that because of their ministry, it's likely that they will be fulfilling the ministries of the prophets Elijah and Moses. And so those who write, or those who share the opinion that the two witnesses would be Elijah and Moses, probably they have a very strong prophetic grounding for that. After all, both prophets appeared during the transfiguration of the Messiah. And so Moses and Elijah probably are the best candidate. But I have to say that nobody knows who the two witnesses are. Are they Jews? I would probably say 90% of people believe that the two witnesses will be Jews. In the same way, so many people believe that when we're talking about the Bible, we're talking about the prophets, we are talking about the Jews. But I believe that the people who we say the chosen of God, they are scattered over the world. The Hebrews are scattered over the world. People who went through the curses enumerated in Deuteronomy chapter 28. If you see a Negro, a dark skinned person, prophesying in Jerusalem and proclaiming the gospel and pronouncing judgment, don't be surprised. I believe that the Hebrews are Negroes, and they are the people that are scattered over the world. And as much as we believe that the 144,000 people will include Negroes, I believe that the two witnesses will be Negro. They will be dark-skinned people who will prophesy in the end of days. They will do two things. First of all, they will witness, and they also proclaim the gospel um, of, of, of God, the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they will also render judgment. And when the witness, they will witness, and they will witness the same way that Christ became the witness. They will witness after the pattern of Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, the true and faithful witness. The two witnesses will be faithful, and they will not preach the gospel because it satisfies the ears of people on earth who want to hear certain sweet things. They will not witness about things that politicians want them to talk about. They will not prophesy about political correctness. They will be true witnesses of the Most High, and they will be faithful. So it is not the type of preaching that we see today, where people are talking about prosperity, where people are talking about gay theology. It is a prophecy, a ministry that will come in the end of days, where the world will be under tribulation, where the world will be running up to its last hour, and the two witnesses will be the witnesses who will come in the last hour to proclaim the gospel of salvation and also to render judgment. The two witnesses will be clothed in sackcloth. As you see from the Old Testament and the New Testament, the prophets were clothed in sackcloth, and you can see the case of Elijah, 2 Kings chapter 1 verse 8, and you can see the case of John the Baptist in Mark chapter 1 verse 6. They will be prophesying, and they will be in sackcloth. Sackcloth is a symbol of mourning. The prophets will be mourning. They will be mourning because of the judgment that they themselves will be rendering to people, and they'll be mourning because people are not repenting, and they are preaching to them to repent. So the two witnesses will be in sackcloth. sackcloth, a mourning clothing. They will not be like the bishops and the archbishops who brag about the clothes that they wear. Some of them even brag about the perfume they put on themselves. Some of them brag about the watches that they wear and the suits, Giorgio Armani suits that they wear. The two witnesses will be in sackcloth and they will prophesy with bitterness and they will be mourning for the judgment that will be coming on earth, including the judgment that will come from themselves. The two witnesses will be kings and priests. Their priestly function will be the proclamation of the gospel that they will be engaging in as their ministry um, uh, will dictate that they do. And they will also be kings in the sense that they will have the royal authority to render judgment. And so the two witnesses will render judgment, and the scriptures say that fire will destroy their enemies. And when fire is used in the Bible, you know that in the Old Testament, 2 Kings chapter 1, you saw the conflict between the prophet Elijah and the soldiers of Ahaziah. Two companies of soldiers, they wanted to arrest Elijah. 50 soldiers in each company, and Elijah called fire on the soldiers. Fire came from heaven to devour his enemies. And so this is a parody. The two witnesses will be able to call fire. The difference is that for the two witnesses, the fire will come from their own mouth. They will be able to command fire from their own mouths to devour their enemies. And when you look at the book of Revelation, the Messiah has the sharp double-edged sword proceeding from his mouth. The Apostle John saw the profile of the Messiah. The Messiah revealed himself to Apostle John in the book of Revelation. Apostle John saw the profile, Revelation 1 verse 16, and he saw the Messiah. He had two sharp double-edged sword. They had double-edged sword proceeding from his mouth. A sword that is double-edged. It had two sides, and with the sword, the Messiah is able to conquer his enemies. In the same way, the two witnesses will be able to conquer the enemies with fire coming from their mouths. And the same way, in the battle with the Antichrist, the Messiah will defeat the Antichrist not with guns, not with nuclear weapons, but with a breath coming from his mouth. And so what the Messiah will do to the Antichrist, the two witnesses will do to their enemies when they prophesy. The two witnesses will be able to turn water into blood. And here we're talking about the plagues that came in Egypt when Moses commanded the plagues to come in Egypt, and water was turned into blood. So it will be a replication of the Egyptian plagues. The two witnesses will do similar things as they happen in the days of Moses and the pharaohs. And the beast will wage war against the two witnesses and will overcome them. That is unfortunate. Revelation chapter 11 verse 7 says that the beast from the bottomless pit will come and wage war against the two witnesses, and they will die. How come? In the same way, the book of Revelation is telling us in chapter 13, verse 7, that the Antichrist will be given power over the saints, and he will be given power to wage war over the saints and overcome them. And the reason why the two witnesses will be overcome by the beast from the bottomless pit is that the Lord, through his own will, by the act of his own sovereign will allow the beast from the bottomless pit to wage war with the two witnesses and kill them. And the scripture is saying that their corpses will lie on the streets and they will not be buried. Their corpses will lie on the streets, and it will mean an act of humiliation when somebody is killed and his body is not kept for burial. The dead body is not given appropriate burial. That is an act of humiliation. And so this is how the two witnesses will end. They will witness for the Lord in the days where it will be very difficult for anybody to preach about the gospel. They will be given supernatural powers to defeat the enemies with fire coming from their mouths. But in the end, their destiny will come. It is destined, it is decreed, it is prophesied, and it was prophesied before the foundations of the world that these two olive branches who stand before the Holy One of Israel will come to the earth. And on the pattern of the ministry of Elijah, will be able to call fire and defeat their enemies, but at the same time, they will be overcome by the beasts, and their bodies will lie on the streets of Jerusalem, and all the earth dwellers, they will be happy, and their bodies will not, their corpses will not be buried. They will lie on the streets in humiliation. They will be overcome by the beast, because the beast has been given power to overcome the two witnesses. In the same way, the beast has been given power to overcome the saints by waging war against them. And so this is a prophetic analysis about one of the mysteries of heaven. How come the Lord allows his two witnesses to be killed by the beast and their bodies lying on the streets in Jerusalem for 3.5 days? So this is part one of our analysis, and we will continue with part two of our analysis of the two witnesses. We'll be looking at the prophetic and eschatological implications of the ministry of the two witnesses. So expect that eschatological and prophetic implications of the ministry of the two witnesses in part 2 of our analysis that will be posted shortly. I'm leaving the links of this video in the description box for you to share and subscribe to this channel. You are living in the last days. We are close to the arrival of the two witnesses who will prophesy, as chapter 11 of the book of Revelation is talking about. And behold, if you have not watched our channel before, when you go home, remember that on August 27th, 2013, August 27, 2013, I had a revelation, a vision that the final trumpet of heaven has sounded. And because of that, I am very confident and bold that the two witnesses will begin their ministry shortly. Thank you for this message.